What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Squad.
Squad!
We are your co-hosts, Yaya, Yaya, and Jay.
It's so weird to do that live. People can see me.
Yes. We are here. I hope you had a great holiday, a great Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you ate your food.
I did.
The wellness person in me hopes that you ate with moderation. But I'm aware that you did not. Because I didn't either.
Thank you. Thanksgiving.
Had a whole sweet potato pie, but it was vegan.
Shoot, supposed to eat at 3, then eat till 7. Come on now.
Oh, I ate it. See, the beauty of cooking for yourself. I ate it at 12.
That's because you were being antisocial.
Okay.
Only.
It was me and my mama, and that was enough. And we went to my grandma's house.
After.
Yeah.
So you made
It
sure
was
to eat
later
first.
on in the
Before
evening.
y'all rude. Y'all made sure to eat first here.
It was later on in the evening, and
7 o'clock.
5 or 6, and
58.
no.
5:58.
And then we went to my cousin's house for a little bit, probably about 30 minutes.
That was after you went to your grandma's house?
Well, we went to my cousin's house before. And then me and my mama went to my cousin's house. And then, like, really, this is the first time, like, I ain't gonna say this is the first time. This is the first time that I've seen our family house hop for Thanksgiving. Because normally we always at one house. Everybody is always at one house.
It's the first time my family did Thanksgiving at the house in a while. But I guess because of COVID, we was at home. But I was house hopping. I wasn't. You know, I left completely. I wasn't going. I'm sorry.
We weren't. Our situation is not because of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. But I was like, man, they was playing. They was acting like we wasn't doing Thanksgiving. So I had already made plans to do it. Now they going to be like, oh, yeah, we still did it. All right. Y'all wait till I was finna leave to actually officially do Thanksgiving. See how fake folks do. It's cool though. Heard the food was trash. So my food was great. I don't feel bad at all. Still cleaning my teeth from it.
I finished my leftovers today.
Better follow the plies method.
Because I ate, what did I just told you what I made. I made fried oyster mushrooms, collard greens, macaroni and cheese.
Weird.
And dressing and my sweet potato pie and some gravy.
So wait, fried oyster mushrooms.
You fry them like chicken. So I still like double batter them like I would do chicken. Like I did I did it was a vegan buttermilk dredge, and I did that with just some almond milk and some apple cider vinegar.
So
and I seasoned that up, and then I seasoned up my spelt flour. And then I fried it in some grapeseed oil.
That's not the issue. So it's fried oyster mushrooms.
Yeah, that's the variety of mushroom.
So there's an oyster mushroom.
Yeah, it's I don't know why it's called oyster mushroom. I'm sure it's on Google. But there are different varieties of mushroom. Like there's lion's mane.
I've heard of that.
And those just are the ones that are more meaty. Like meaty as in you can pull them apart like as if they were shredded chicken or something like that.
Yeah. That's what these are?
Yeah. That and like trumpet mushrooms. Those two are like closely linked, if not the same thing.
I'm just looking at the picture trying to figure out why they're calling it an oyster. But, you know.
That's why I said I don't quite understand why they're called oyster mushrooms. But I like them. I don't make them very often because they're at Whole Foods. That's the only place I can find them. Well, there are some wild mushroom farmers here in Birmingham, apparently. But I don't always know when to find them and where to find them. And also, Whole Foods is far. So, I don't eat.
Y'all.
I don't eat my fried oyster mushrooms as much as I would like, but I do enjoy them.
I'm just tripping out on the fact that when I Google oyster mushrooms, the first question they ask? Go on, guess. What the first question they ask?
Why are they called oyster mushrooms?
Nope.
Can you get high off of?
Are oyster mushrooms psychedelic?
No, they are not.
Actually.
Oh, goodness.
Blue oyster mushrooms,
Oh.
aside from being edible, they may be slightly psychedelic.
Oh, I don't use those.
I'm just saying.
Those aren't typically the ones that are sold. Not in stores anyway. They do the regular oyster mushroom, and then they do like the pink one, which I heard the pink one, the pink oyster mushroom has more of a bacon flavor, like a smoky flavor, and I wish I could have found some of those so I could have put them in my greens. But my greens still slap though. But I wish I could have found some.
I've had your vegan greens; they do slap. However, I'm just a mushroom that tastes like pork. You know what? All right, I'm done. Cool. It's something vegan that tastes like something else everywhere. So I guess
That's true.
Because what tastes like beef?
There's nothing that tastes like beef necessarily.
Well,
you gotta
you know,
season it a
well,
particular
it's
way.
a beef substitute.
A Beyond Burger?
I mean, I'm not.
Oh,
I was talking about maybe
I would say Vital Wheat gluten. You can do anything with Vital Wheat gluten. That's probably what that chicken is at Underground Vegan. That's probably what that is. You can do anything with Vital Wheat gluten or seitan.
Speaking of which, what time they closed tonight?
About 10:30.
After this, I'm riding down there.
All right. Enjoy yourself.
Well, I gotta go to the bar with everybody, so I'm like, yeah. Yes, Christian people can go to the bar, people. It's allowed.
I don't do that because I'm an introvert and I'm in my natural habitat. I like to be at the house.
I'm an extrovert, introvert. I'm gonna go out there until my social battery claps, and then I'm out. Just to say I went.
I be at the house or a bookstore or a grocery store or a thrift store.
I be at all them places. However,
maybe a park if the weather permits.
Definitely a park.
But
and I walk randomly to places.
Other than that, no ma'am.
I mean, yeah, me and different parts. I'm just gonna go out here, get my black young professional drink on, and yeah, have what the young folks call fun. But anyway, what we talking about?
Tonight we are talking about grief.
Yep, drinking.
No, no, that is not how you handle grief.
Not anymore.
Yeah. That's not the helpful way to do it.
It's not. Not encouraging it.
It is something that numbs it.
Very much so.
Absolutely. But just because something is numbing you does not mean that it's helping you.
Away.
Yeah. So this is something that you wanted to touch on. So where do you want to start?
With the statement that I have realized, but I never really said out loud, is that grief for a lot of people, especially in a spiritual sense, can be the time when you fight with God the most.
Absolutely.
And you usually fight with God, one, because you're hurt. Two, because you're trying to understand why. Which can be a big battle. Especially for people that are grieving and looking for an answer to their grief. Or like something they can put into play to help them deal with grief.
Mm-hmm.
But then a lot of people just say, I don't want to say, generic statements that you just supposed to hear and supposed to be alright with, like, well, just pray about it.
Or they're in a better place.
And a lot of generic statements in the middle of grief. You ain't trying to hear that.
That's true. It's like, yeah, they're in a better place. I know that logically.
Mm-hmm.
I know to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. I know they ain't in pain no more, this, that, and the third. I know. However, these feelings that I'm feeling right now.
Yep.
I'm still here.
And they are
and
not.
they are not.
And I think for especially people that may be either coming back to Christ, struggling as far as relationship, or people that may have church hurt especially, grief can be that thing that tip you over the edge. And can make you forget everything. As far as a relationship is concerned, it can make you turn your back on the relationship because you just like, well, if you supposed to know, or you supposed to be there, so why this happen? Not saying that I'm thinking that now, but I know the mentality that comes into play because I've been there before when I was younger. And I know I left and became atheist because of grief. Because I was the person that was like, God can't exist in the context that I have been taught or the way that it has been told to me, because I was young at the time. And I was like, you can't be real. Because why would you do this? And when I was young, I was like 13 when I had became atheist. But I was still going to church playing the role. Because my grandmother was very invested in church. So I was just going to church faking it. Because I ain't going to tell her that. Because
how does a black child say that to a black grandparent?
You know. But I be going to church. Sleep. And not sleep because just past long-winded. Because, you know, that's the thing when you're young. But I'm just going to sleep because I don't believe in this. Yeah. Because how could you? And I remember dealing with that battle for like years. And then the constant clique nature of the church we was in at the time did not make it any better for me to come back during high school especially. But then eventually when I was it was my senior year, like junior year going to my senior year when stuff started to change. And I was just looking at life like, and that's when I was starting to get demonically attacked too. So it was getting to the point where I was like, if this side is real,
Yep.
Ain't no way you ain't.
Exactly. And I think that's why God allows that to happen. Like, he allows us to go through that because he's like, okay, I know this child. It's going to take them seeing that side for them to understand this side.
Like, nah, this side ain't going to do it. Because they going to say it's something else. They going to be like, oh, this was them. Or this is like, if you really want to go into modern day, they manifested this.
Right.
Or, you know, the universe did this. All these other reasons they come up with. And of course I would have made them reasons. I was like 15, 16. Duh. Boy, but God would be like, oh, you want to play? Alright. Cool. I'm going to get you back. But since you don't believe me on the good side, I'm going to open this door. Go ahead now. Y'all, I done blocked from him. Go ahead. Go and he free game. I'm going to watch, but he free game. And boy,
within the confines of what God said.
That's what I said.
It's free game within the confines.
That's what the confines were. I'm watching. He free game though. But alright now. That's still mine. But go ahead. He don't believe in me right now. Go ahead. Y'all see what y'all can do. This gonna be a part of his story.
Exactly. And the whole time the enemy is like, oh,
bet.
And God is like, chill out, player. Not like that.
Man, the demons I have seen, especially that death specter, that nigga, I'm gonna say it, ain't nothing to play with. And he play games. So I'm gonna tell y'all, slight quick story. I was about 15, 16 years old. I went to sleep one night, and I know exactly what position I went to sleep in. I went to sleep like this, under cover, right? Arms up under pillows. I literally am awakened, but I am not in my body. I'm looking at my body. And I'm like, this that Jackie Chan Adventures episode with the sheep talisman.
Wow.
That's why I was tripping out of there, because I remember astral projection form connected to the sheep talisman. Jackie Chan Adventures. And I was looking down at my body. I'm like, nigga, go back in. I'm like trying to get back in my body, can't get in. I look to the door. Now I remember, I close my bedroom door. And I close my bedroom door every night. This bit wide open. And it's nothing but darkness. You can't even see my grandma's door, which is purely white.
Oh, wow.
And there's light coming in my room from the moon. So you can clearly see a white door. Pitch black in the hallway. And then all I see is a hooded figure walk through the darkness and stand in my room. It look at me in astral projection form. It look at my body. It smile up under the hood, ran in, attacked my body, whole room blacked out. The room resumed. Light came back in the room. All the darkness went back to the hallway. Figure was gone. I'm looking, and it was like a game show to where I'm seeing it like a scene in a movie, to where my astral projection form can see up by my bed the letters of my name. And the J had went away. So I only had the rest of the letters.
You told me about that.
And he came in again, attacked my body again, blacked out. A was gone. Came in again, attacked it, R was gone. And the letters are slowly dwindling from my name. Then he paused the game and looked up at my astral projection form and was like, if I get to this last letter, you're going to die. Smiled and proceeded to black out the room again. The E was gone. I was on TTE. I had 3 more chances. I'm sitting there looking, panicking, looking at my body, struggling, trying to figure out, all right, what in the world can I do to get back in my body and wake up? Because I done kicked my body, it didn't do nothing. My foot went straight through. I done punched my head, hand went through. And I'm just like, bro, I can't. Then the moment I said, Jesus, my form vacuumed into my body and I jumped up out my sleep. Room door closed. Everything light in the room. So.
See, I had a dream like that at your house.
You did. And that's how I knew what you was talking about.
At the time, I told you, because I didn't want to I was still in that space where I was like, I don't want to believe in Jesus. I don't want to, and I didn't want to give him that credit. But in the dream, like, I told you, like, I screamed love, but really I screamed Jesus. But it was like a dark figure was coming to me and was like standing over me, and I just kept like crouching down, and I kept shrinking, and then I was just like, Jay told me about this, Jesus, and as soon as that happened, he like and ran away.
Right there,
and I was like, ain't no way. I woke up like, I'm gonna tell Jay about this. Ain't no way.
You told me the next day.
And then when I was here, I had a dream where, and this was like a few days before I gave my life to Christ. I had a dream where, maybe a few weeks, I don't know. All that was a blur.
Right.
But I had a dream where I saw like this dark figure like inching into my closet. It was like a monster in the closet. Like there's a monster in my closet. But it was just this dark figure like inching into my closet. And I was like, what in the hell?
Going to get your darkness.
And you know how I don't know if anybody else has ever had this experience, but like I've had moments where I've been asleep, but it sounds like somebody is walking around me. And I've had many moments like that. But
Here's my question. Does it feel like somebody's walking around you watching you?
Yes.
Like just looking dead at you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, last night...
What? What? Wait a minute. So, in the dream, though, I saw that figure, like, enter into my closet. And it's, like, as I'm sleeping, it sounds like somebody is really, like, running into my room and standing right beside my bed, like, looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what? And I'm trying to, like, wake up.
And these ain't ghosts.
I'm trying to wake up, and I can't. And then I hear something say, "Hey, y'all," and then I wake up, and I'm like, "What in the world?" And I thought it was my mama.
Mm-hmm. And you thought it was your mama. Interesting. After this, I'm gonna tell you a story, but that happened last night to me. Anyway, yeah, me and my mama went to prayer, got the communion heavy. Yeah.
Okay, so grief.
I'm trying to tell you. But the reason,
back to your story.
but that brought me back to God after grief.
Mm-hmm.
But it was because I had seen the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the relationship was still strained because I had unforgiveness in my heart towards God that I had not dealt with. And it took years of just having a relationship with God, praying for forgiveness, doing these other things, trying to build my relationship. But it was that one area that I just never visited, or at least I didn't think about visiting. Because I'm like, I got all this other stuff with God I'm trying to figure out. Alright, my relationship strained, prodigal son type situation. Anyway, so when I went down to Florida, and it was crazy because I had the option of either becoming a teacher while I was getting my master's done, or join Verizon and finish my master's through them. And some told me go teach. Like, leave Alabama, go to Florida, work. That was it.
Okay.
Even though I had the option of both, comfortable would have been like, all right, work for Verizon, you know, be at home, chilling. Uncomfortable was like, go to Florida. I ain't got no friends, didn't know nobody, got a whole salary position, about over 50,000. Cool.
That's
Let's
50,000
do it.
in Florida.
In Florida. But I was like, big. Got on the plane, last minute when I found out about it, flew to Florida, didn't have nothing. You know the whole story. And while I was down there, God had revealed to me, he was like, good. Now that you're by yourself and you don't have any distractions, we can work on us now. And I was like, thought we were straight. Like, I thought I was good. I'm like, I'm just talking about, I'm like in my dreams having conversations.
Yeah.
And he was like, you got beef with me, apparently. And I was like,
What you
what
mean?
you talking about? He was like, you know your heart. The same way I know your heart. What you mad at me about?
I never knew.
And I was like, mad at you? Because I had buried it.
That happens.
And that's why I always tell people, Florida, my time in Florida was a sabbatical. But I had realized the whole time I was never transparent with God about my grief and how my grief had made me angry with him. Mind you, I was 13, 27, 14 years had passed. Which means this dark part in my heart had been with me for 14 years. Something I thought I dealt with.
Yeah.
And I probably dealt with in therapy.
Yeah.
Probably dealt with talking to friends, talking to family members, situations. But I never took it to him personally to say, not no generic prayers of Lord forgive me, da 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 da. I had to be transparent to say, God, I'm angry with you. And I'm angry with you because Pa died before he could teach me how to be a man. And I was here with no good examples. Or at least the example who he was supposed to be to me, he died because of cancer. Yeah. And I was upset and I've been angry with you because I've had to learn how to be a man on my own. Whatever that was supposed to be like. And in my opinion, you left me out here to figure it out by myself. Went to sleep, had a dream. He was like, Now that you got that off your chest, we can have a relationship now.
Right.
And I'm like, so what we been having? And that's when I learned we was in transaction. I was using God like transaction.
Mm-hmm.
I might have been in a relationship for others with God. But when it came to me, there was a block there. Mm-hmm. And I never knew this because all my prayers centered around for other people. It was never about me. Even when I pray for forgiveness and stuff like that, when it comes to my sins, although I did it, there was still the block of the lack of transparency. Because I didn't know that was still a problem I had.
Yeah.
Because I believed in him, again.
Yeah.
Had a relationship, at least I thought. But he had shown me that my grief became anger. And in my grief, I chose to use him as a target to never fully let my walls down. And that's when I realized my grief and anger towards God, when it came to my walls I had up around my heart with him, was the same way it translated to walls I had around my heart with other people. Especially in intimate relationships. That's why when it came to, and I apologize to all my exes if they ever see this or whatever. Yeah. But because I know I was hard to deal with when it came to giving my emotions. Yeah. But that was because I wouldn't give my emotions to him. I was never transparent with God. So how can I be transparent with a human? Like I was hiding, had that wall up so high that even if I shared things with certain people, and you know I'll talk to anybody about my struggles, but even then, it might seem warm to somebody else, but it might have been a hollow statement for me. And I didn't realize it. Because I thought I was being genuine.
You know what God just said to me? Because you know I was trying to figure out, or I was saying like, do the father wound episode is going to be the next episode? God was like, y'all having the same conversation. Because even in you talking about your experience with grief, particularly about a father figure, that caused a father wound within you. Because there was already one there because your dad.
Yep.
But then there's also one there because, and this father wound happens a lot, but a lot of people don't know how to acknowledge it because it's not the same as, oh, my daddy left. It's, this person died. Like, it's like, how do I reconcile with them not having a choice in leaving? And it's something they don't have any control over.
Especially when I already had an L.
Yeah, I wanted them here. And now they're gone. And so you have to deal with that father wound. And then that father wound also ties into God because you talk about, you go to God and you say things like, how could you let this happen to me? How could you put me in this situation? And then those father wounds, and if you're wondering what a father wound is, oh, I wish I had my notes because I took notes on it, but I thought it was going to be a whole other episode.
Ain't in your notebook over there?
No, I typed it. But what we get with father wounds is basically hurt that you experience and grief that you experience and trauma that you experience from your father figure being absent due to death, being absent because they chose to leave, and them being absent spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and again, even physically. And what tends to happen is we harbor that and we don't know how to deal with it, or nobody teaches us how to deal with it. And even and it happens as children. And as a child, you don't know how to communicate. I have this hole inside of me or this pain inside of me because I don't receive what I need. I haven't received what I need or what I feel that I need. Or what I feel that I need is not being received in the way that I would like for it to come. It's not coming the way I want it to come. I would rather my dad be here, even though God is sending you father figures. It's like, well, I would rather it be them. Or for you, also like I would rather it be my pa, but you also had these coaches that treated you like a son as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I really wanted to touch on that because a lot of us are, and I don't want to hijack.
Yeah,
it came because we
together.
It really tied in real quick. But what we see a lot of times is we don't know how to be in relationship with God because we're still dealing with this father wound with our earthly father. And so it's like it's almost like this situation with my earthly father has caused such hurt in me that I'm going to take it out on my heavenly father.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens with a lot of atheists, a lot of agnostics, a lot of witches. And I know from personal experience,
both know from personal experience.
Yes, we both know from personal experience. I know from just things that I've seen. I really like to ask a lot of times. I met somebody last weekend. We were having a conversation, and they're in New Age practices and stuff like that. And whenever I meet people like that, I sometimes want to ask, what's your relationship with your dad like? Because oftentimes... Or your mother. Because oftentimes it ties in. Now, what I'm learning is your relationship with your mother plays out more in relationships with people. And your relationship with your father plays out in relationship with God.
Father, groom, in the church. Makes sense.
Yeah. So...
Mother's the church.
So...
Or the bridesmaid.
The bride. The church, people, mother, yeah. If you can put that together in your mind, it makes sense in my mind. The way it's coming to me, it makes sense. But, yeah, and even in watching that movie, which is based on a true story, about the case for Christ, and there was a psychologist. She was a psychologist. She was a professor of psychology. And she was also agnostic. But she told the guy who was searching or trying to disprove God, she was like, even as an agnostic, I can point out that most of the famous atheists have father wounds. And there's a common thread in how they view God and how their relationship with God is connected to pain that they have with their father, any beef that they have with their earthly father. And I don't know. I have friends that I want to be like, I have friends that I want to be like. When we get into conversations about God and unbelief and things like that, I really want to say, I ask them all the time, like, how's your father? Or how's your dad doing? Have you talked to your dad? And it's because I really want them to come to a place of forgiveness with their dad. But I know I can't force that. But I know that a lot of times, again, from experience, from what data shows and things like that, that is the link that is stopping you from a relationship with God. Because
the only relationship with a father you know has been tarnished.
Exactly.
A father you can see, touch, whatever.
And so when it comes to one that you can't see, touch, or whatever, it's like, you're right. The one that
basing everything off your earthly relationship.
Exactly.
Secular, whatever words you want to use today.
I wouldn't call it secular.
Well, not you. Just other people. I've seen people say some weird things on the internet. Twitter's a wild place. Also not real.
Your secular relationships.
Right. Right. You see how that sound?
I guess, okay, if a relationship is secular, I could see if you mean from the perspective of it's not built on the foundation of God, or it's not about God. But all that to say,
people use words and don't understand.
Yeah. All that to say,
But somebody taught me something very important. It was someone's mother. She came to me because we had similar stories as far as like background. And she prayed over me and was like, the Lord has always been a father to the fatherless. And no matter what has happened to your earthly father or father figure, your real father has never left you. Your real father has been here through it all. Before you got here, after you got here, and knows your story beyond this point in time. And he will be there then as well. So although you were hurt that you feel at times you are fatherless, and she was explaining times to where, you know, generic things that you hope your dad is at, things you wish you learned, different stuff like that. We had a big conversation around that. And she was like, although your earthly father was not in attendance, your heavenly father was congratulating you. And when she prayed, and I think that was during the time where I really I think that happened. Yeah, that happened before I actually had the official sabbatical. And that will always come up through my prayers and my studying and opening up, and I would say spiritual therapy, because eventually you and God got to have a one-on-one for a therapy session. Because, boy, them one-on-ones.
Do it every time.
Got to. It breaks you down, like, to the fraction. Like, you literally will become a child in those spiritual therapy sessions with God.
But it draws y'all so much closer together. Like, because he is going to pull it. He's going to pull it out of you. No matter what you're trying to hide from him, no matter what you're trying to keep from him, even if you don't know how to say it, and you're like, I don't know how to say it because, I have moments like this. Well, I don't know how to say it because I want to say it like this. He's like, say it. And then you say it, no matter how messed up it comes out, he takes it, and he's like, okay, now that you have said it, now that you have given this to me, chill out. I still love you. I'm going to show you what to do next. Go to sleep.
That's how it be. He literally would be like, hey, calm down. I got you later. Just shut up for a little bit. Get you some rest.
And I think
you got a long time ahead.
I be saying that most times God just wants us to shut up.
Does he? Understatement of the year right there, bro.
God will give you everything that you need. And you will realize that God has already given you everything that you need. If you just shut up. Say it. Like, if you need to say something that you're hiding in your heart, sure. Say it, then shut up. Because once that happens, it's like, I can see clearly now. And it's like, oh, that's why. And you just start seeing, he'll just randomly tell you, open your Bible. And then you just see a word and you're like, oh.
Or you casually got to talk to somebody.
Yes. This random person, you just having a random conversation. Or somebody in your immediate circle, and y'all just having a conversation. You're like, how did they know to talk about that?
Or either you start talking to somebody who got similar issues as you. Or either you might be a little bit further along than them in a certain section of processing. So I always call it what I have learned. And it was funny, I always go back to when we used at my house. If there was 10 levels of spirituality, or I'll say spiritual relationship with God.
I love this analogy.
I was probably at level 5. You was at level 1.
Was I?
Yeah.
I was at the tutorial.
No, you was at level 1. You had already, the thing about it is you already been through the tutorial. You just chose to forget it.
Had I?
Yeah. But the thing about it is, just because I'm at level, but you gotta think about it. Just because I'm at level 5 don't mean I know what I'm doing.
Oh, I know that. Just because I'm at, I am doing better than I was, but I still don't know what I'm doing.
Exactly. But the only thing I could do with you being at level 1 was tell you all the steps I had from level 1 to 5.
Yeah.
That was it. I ain't had no strategy guide. I ain't got no cheat codes. I was like, well, this, and this.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
And that's kind of what I want to do. Like, when I get in moments where I see my friends are in, like, spiritual battles and maybe they're not in that place to talk about that yet. And it's like, I see what's going on. I'm in your position. And I'm like, I see what's happening. But I don't think you're ready for this conversation yet.
Yep.
And I know what you may need to do or what steps you may need to take because I have been here.
Yep.
But I don't think you're there yet.
Exactly.
And I don't know how to say it. So I'm going to let God just do this.
Yeah, just let him orchestrate this conversation.
Just let you do it. Like, and I had to get to that point. I was like, God, I want to. But how?
And that's when he'd be like, hold my beer. God would hold my beer.
And low key.
Yep.
Low key, I think.
I'm telling you. Hold my beer.
And I'm like, because when
listen, I'm here where you at. Hold my beer.
When I think about it, in the moment, I was like,
yep. It's hold my beer.
I said, not that.
And he'd be like this. Hold my bill. And the thing about it, God's so cool with it. You ever watch wrestling? And you know when they be having tag team matches?
Yes.
And you see the tag team opponent sitting there and they just jumping around, waiting to just to get tagged in. That God on the sidelines just waiting. Like, as soon as you hit that tag, hold my bill. I'm in. And take over the whole match. And you just sitting on the side.
I'll just be like, listen, do what you got to do.
Tear it up.
Please have mercy.
That's up to him.
Please have mercy.
That's up to him. Because whatever whooping they need, depends on the lack of mercy I might need to show. I have learned that.
I know.
I have learned that.
I know.
We can pray for mercy with somebody, but then God to be like, listen, I understand what you're saying. I'm going to acknowledge it. But what I need to do to them to get them back to him.
And low-key, I feel like my mama has gone through this with me. Like, even when I know for a fact my mama was like, I see what's happening. I don't think she's ready to have this conversation right now. And all she kept saying was, what helps me is my faith. And
she give you them introductory
and all
quotes.
She would say that, and she would ask me like, well, how is what you're doing now beneficial to your life?
That's a loaded therapy question.
Like,
Jesus.
Like, okay, I know like you've been doing all these things with the crystals and da da da. Do you see how that has worked for you at all? Even down to the positive thinking. Positive thinking is great. But what foundation is it built on? Is it built on the foundation of you lifting yourself up in what you think your identity is? She's
shooting with a silence on the end. She ain't
she didn't say this ain't even coming from her. This is me just asking these questions now.
Oh, I was finna say, because your mama did this. She got a silence on the end of that gun.
No, she would just ask. She would just ask like, "How is this helping your life?"
Silence.
If you, that was it, she would just say that, and it would sow seeds and make me think, "How is this helping my life?" And I'd be like, "Well, I feel like I have power, child. You have none."
Man, the moments you think you really running this like you think you doing.
Do I really feel like I have power when I'm breaking down every 5 minutes because I can't even watch TV because watching TV makes me anxious and makes me worry about what if something happens and all this. I have no power. I have no control, no power, no nothing. And I had never even been that person.
And here's a side note. And I don't know who this might, hey, deal with it how you will. I will say, if dealing with certain things out in the world has affected your relationships with people that you say you love drastically.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times in a negative notion, I would tell people not to think of it as, oh, that these certain people are getting cut out of my life due to da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Some people see that as, oh, well, they went for me,
Mm-hmm.
so they. No, whatever you doing is affecting them to the point to where they can't
do
around
it.
you.
Yeah, so sometimes it's not always they wasn't good enough or all that other stuff. No, it's
what you doing.
I know what ain't the consequences of my actions. That's exactly what it is. Most times, it's like,
because I know
you are
there are
being
particular
so
people
damaging to yourself that it's damaging your relationships.
Mm-hmm. And there are particular people that are like dabbling in certain things. I think they understand the world in certain ways, but they don't see that they are. Especially I've seen in relationships,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't see how those things are connecting to the abuse they are giving their partners, whether known or not, and not just physical, emotionally,
mental,
verbally, mentally. And they don't see how much they have changed in certain regards.
Mm-hmm.
But you can definitely, if you ask their partner, bet money, they can trace it.
Yep.
And to be honest, I feel bad for the partners. Because if you still there in that, you better one than me. Because, boy, don't nobody deserve abuse.
And even that gets difficult in friendships, because it's like, again, I know what's going on, and I see it, and
that's grief
I
too.
know it's not you. It's how these things are affecting you, and how you have learned to handle these things, and you haven't necessarily learned how to handle them in the healthiest way. So I don't want to pull away from you, because I know it's not you. I know this is not, I can look, and it's not like you got potential. No, I can look at you and know this is not you. But because you have become so pessimistic in your thinking, and allowing and you've allowed bitterness to overtake your heart, and you've allowed that bitterness that is overtaking your heart to be your foundation and to be what leads you, and you've allowed loneliness and other things to lead you, it breaks my heart to see. But I know it's not you. And I wish you knew that it's not you.
Listen, see my hand. Tag me. Woo! You grieving you. Let me explain. You see all them things that you just talked about? In a sense, sometimes when we have gone through all those different things, and we talk about it, there's a process to where you may be doing all this damage or different things around your life because you're really grieving who you used to be based off of certain traumas and different things that you may have faced. And I have learned, when you miss a certain part of yourself that was better at one point in time in your life, I would say for me, I've always had a struggle with self-esteem. But I've always grieved for the boy that was happy regardless of it. That wasn't worried about all these other things as far as how self-esteem is wrapped up.
And that grief can make you hard when you don't know how to process it.
But sometimes we can be grieving other people, but sometimes we're grieving for ourselves, or we're grieving to the fact of where we know we're supposed to be. So you're crying or feeling hurt for yourself due to the fact that you're hurt because you know you're supposed to be better than where you are. But because you don't know how to face that grief inside yourself, dealing with grieving your potential you or your future you should be going towards, you self-sabotage. You hurt yourself. You hurt other people around you. Same way the different stages of grief, you deny the fact that you even supposed to be that person. All these other different things. Like, you can go through the stages of grief and you can tie every stage to how you feel about you or how you feel about who you should be or who you used to be before you got to this particular area in life, because you might have been dope, but all these different things that happened to you, and now you sit up in the process the way you grieving because you wish you was still that, or you're hoping that you can become this, or you're grieving about the current process that you shouldn't be in. And coming from somebody that has grieved death but also grieved for myself, especially sexual immorality was always a problem for me, but it was linked to self-esteem. But I grieved for the me that didn't care about having sex in order to make other people see me or to think that I was good enough.
I journaled about that today.
I grieve for that young man that wasn't worried about that. I dealt with it.
Yeah.
Still dealing with it. Because it's still a process. Because grief is always a process.
Yeah.
But as being someone who is also being a support system to somebody who's currently grieving, and also dealing with grief myself recently, and still dealing with it, I always tell people I'm starting to tell people rather, that you gotta have a level of grace in those moments.
Yeah.
Because there are gonna be times to where you will literally beat yourself down so bad for something that you literally could not control. And that can be instances of death. That can be instances of trauma. That can be instances of just things that just came out of your environment in general. Because you couldn't control your environment. There's nothing you can do about it. You just lived in it. But when you're dealing with yourself, especially when it comes to it, I have learned that there's so much grace you must give yourself while you processing. Because sometimes it can be hard. And you can just be going through a day and you can think about how your loved one may have been when you're going through the day. And it get to the point to where that you might say to yourself, oh, so-and-so will be mad at me for looking how I'm looking right now. He or she would hate how I look because I'm sitting up here crying, da-da-da. Nah, have grace for yourself. Feel that.
Yeah.
Because the world don't be caring. So you got to make that space for yourself to feel that. Or have a support system around you enough to allow you to feel that.
And I think I think that happens even when we grieve things like relationships. When we, maybe we don't have the relationship that we would like with our father or with our mother or it just didn't work out with an ex or something like that. And we get to a prideful space of just bitterness and anger and dealing with it in that way, instead of allowing ourselves to feel that and allowing ourselves to feel the hurt that it really caused. And we try to convince ourselves, I'm used to this by now. This is just the way it happens. This is how life is. This is how life is. It never works out, or that was how I tried to convince myself. It never works out. So, oh well. Or we'll do they just went for me and try to cover it up with our pride. when really you're hurt. When really you wish your daddy held you. When really you wish your daddy was better. When really you wish your mama loved you more. Or showed you in the way that you preferred. Or really you wish your mama was right there with you instead of wherever she was.
Yep. And the thing about it is I've also learned to forgive actions that I haven't even seen.
Yeah.
Because in those moments where you're thinking, well, somebody should have been here, or this should have happened, or you wish that this person would have done differently than how they did you, all these other things. The thing about it is, especially I was saying relationships, especially when you're looking at an ex. Grieve the relationship. And also grieve for the person that you were in the relationship.
Yes.
And look at the relationship and grieve and understand and go ahead and process the feelings. Because sometimes we be like, especially when an ex may get with a new person and somehow, some way treats them
better.
Way better than they ever treated you. And what I've learned to forgive and also grieve for is the fact that I have an ex in particular that comes to mind. But she didn't love me in the ways that I know that I needed to be loved. And I also should have understood and loved myself more to recognize that she couldn't love me the way I needed to be. Or the fact that I knew that the fact that she did not love herself should have been an indicator that she could never love me. But in that process of grieving, instead of being upset and mad at her for either moving on and becoming with another person, maybe treating them better, there's no telling how much time in between, how much growth and development that person has gone through that may have, because of your relationship and how it ended, is what triggered them to have to change.
They may not be the same person.
They're not the same person.
They're in exactly like, and that's what helped me like get over my ex, because I was just like, and because when I knew they had a girlfriend and stuff, I was hurt a little bit at the time, even when by that time 2 years had passed, or almost 2 years. But I was like, you know what? Right now, I am not the same person that dated him, which means he's probably also not the same person who dated me. It's possible. So, however he's treating her, that means our relationship had purpose of some sort. It helped him to grow. And I'm happy for him, and I'm happy that he did grow. And it helped me, like, move past it, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm okay. And then, again, for myself, I was like, you know what? Forget, because we will get into the place of how they get with somebody before me, or they got, it seemed like they got over me quick.
Don't worry about that.
Like that. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that.
Because
you don't know.
You don't know. You don't know what the situation is.
You don't know how much growth they might have had because you love them.
And they may just be the same person, and they
just taking that same mess to somebody else.
Yeah,
they ain't got nothing to do with you.
They ain't
mind the business that pays.
Yeah, pretty much. And for you, maybe you ain't found nobody yet, because if you ain't over them, you don't do that.
And even if
don't take that nowhere
else.
else.
And even if you are, might not be your time.
It might not be your time. Like, stop trying to be so desperately in a relationship.
And you
calm
ain't even
like I tell them children at work, calm your nerves.
Yeah, you trying to get into another relationship, you ain't even agree the last one.
Exactly.
You ain't even agree the one you just got out of.
Grieve who you were. Grieve what that relationship was. Grieve what it brought you. Grieve that person. Grieve the experiences that y'all shared, and how you won't get them back. It's okay to grieve that, to feel that, and to be like, It didn't work out, but it had its moments.
Mm-hmm.
And I will miss those moments. But who knows what moments will look like in the future with somebody else.
And I would say that for people that are still grieving or got beef with God over grief, take it to them. Have that time to where you legit air it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you, he been waiting on you to do it.
Yes, he has.
Because he knows that's the final block in between you and him actually being together.
Mm-hmm.
And he there's so many blessings you got blocked that he want to release to you. But because your relationship is not where it needs to be, or you don't even have one because you got this beef in your heart.
Because you're pissed off with God that life didn't start out the way you wanted it to.
Or it's not going
the way you wanted it to.
You acting like he can't change it.
Exactly.
You acting like he ain't been trying to change it. But he don't know you. Or at least you won't get to know him because you still mad. Come to somebody who let that go, I'm telling you, life got 10 times better.
I swear. I posted, there's a, I don't know if they do it on TikTok, but I know there's a song on Reels that be like, who, it's called Who.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
I might have to end this one early. Cause
yeah, it's like, who the one that be saving souls? Jesus. Who the one that, and I put like all my, I found some pictures in my archive.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked that up and I was like, I don't even recognize who this person is. But that's the impact of Jesus, of God, of being in relationship with God. I look at those pictures and it looks like there's darkness around me. And I look at those pictures and it looks like there's hurt in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at them and I'm like, girl, you ain't even know.
Nope. We need a part 2.
And that's what we will have. We will have a part 2. But this is good. This is good.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
I needed this. Oh, man.
So, that's all we have for this week. We will see y'all next week with our part 2. Peace.
Deuces.